Hello there everyone, and welcome to this basic demonstration of Jarrison time. Today we'll be learning about the sort of day-to-day workflow of the software, as well as how it can make your life easier when it comes to tracking your employees' attendance and their time worked. To start off here, we're just going to log in. Upon logging in, we are now greeted by this little window. And at the top, we can see both what is called the menu bar and the icon bar. And here we have easy access to the central functions of the software, and we'll actually be looking at a lot of these today. To start off with, before we can of course monitor our employees' time and attendance, we need to have employees in the first place. So for that, we are going to go ahead and navigate to the employee details. In here, we can capture and reference various pieces of information. For example, we have employee number, name, surname, as well as these descriptive fields like department and occupation. These fields are customizable, so if, for example, you want to change site to something like branch, that is possible. It's also possible to have fields be date-driven, as we can see with the occupation field there. We can see that as of the 1st of January, in this instance, this person is under the maintenance occupation, with the history of the occupations recorded here under the Personal To tab. There are a number of other functions we can go into here, but one of the main things I just want to underscore is that all of this information that we see under the Details tab and under the Personal tab, it can be imported in bulk into the software, so it doesn't have to be captured one by one for each person. We can set up a bulk import either from your payroll system or from a spreadsheet and have that ready to go. And now that we're happy with our employees, it's time to actually look at the things that you'll be using to monitor the time and attendance for your employees and correct it as necessary. One of the first most useful tools we're going to have a look at is going to be the exceptions window. It allows you to view issues and exceptions that happen on a day-to-day basis. Things like, for example, if they didn't punch out properly, if they forgot to punch out perhaps. We can actually see a case here at 8:20. I'm just going to select it and double-click. Double-clicking on it will bring up what is called the Daily Details view. And the Daily Details view gives us a sort of zoomed-in look at that particular person's time and attendance for that day. So as you can see, there's only a punch in at 8:20. I'm just going to move over to the Add button and add a punch. We can see as well that there is a reason option here. We refer to this as the manual punch reason, and we have it in the system as an option for you to audit what your users are doing in the system. If a manual punch is added and a reason is required, it can either be something that you just freely type in, or it can be something where you have to select from a list of reasons. And then if there is an inquiry about why there is no physical clocking, it can be reviewed to say that, oh, okay, well, the factory door was locked, or the person simply forgot to punch in. Now that we've used the exceptions window to handle cases such as missed punch-ins and punch-outs, we can now use what is referred to as the Authorize Overtime window to look at different cases of overtime and authorize or decline them. There are a lot of features here that are very useful. We can use the columns at the top here to sort by whatever metric we want, whether that be date or time. Let's have a look at this overtime case here, 2 hours and 59 minutes. Earned by this individual here. Let's go ahead and select it. And this is effectively marking the overtime that we've recorded, either for authorization or declination. We'll select a few other ones here. We can see that just selecting it will populate the time that has been recorded into the off time column just as it is. You'll see that when we select a time, it gets highlighted so that we can edit it. Here we'll change this time from 2:23 to 2:30. And to the right here, you'll notice that we can select the reason column. And this allows us to specify a reason for why the overtime was worked. Much like the manual clocking reasons from earlier, this is useful for auditing and tracking purposes. We can specify exactly why this is getting authorized and sent through to payroll. So let's go through here and add in the reasons for the overtimes that we have selected. And then once we're happy, we can click the Authorize button, and this times will now be marked as authorized overtime at a rate of 1.5. We can similarly select these times and decline them as well. We also have some safeguards in the system against over-authorizing. That is to say, if we edit the overtime, we can't authorize more than a certain amount. And this profile has been limited to not add more than 15 minutes beyond what was actually recorded. And we can see here if we try to authorize 31 minutes extra, we are getting that error message. So with all these different tools of limiting how much extra can be authorized, of listing different reasons for why overtime was recorded, we can see that Jarrison is very robust for keeping a close eye on your overtime, making sure that not too much gets authorized, that it gets authorized correctly, and so on. So now we've used our exceptions window to look at glaring issues with our time and attendance, and our overtime authorization window to authorize and decline overtime, we can look at the pay totals window. Let's navigate over here to open it. This window gives us totals per employee for their pay cycle. We can see our total for normal time, overtime, unauthorized overtime, short time, and whatever other kinds of times you'd like to track in the system. We can use this view to ascertain at a glance if there are any pay cycles for employees that look suspect. We can see here that there is an instance for this particular employee where the normal time worked in the week is quite a bit less than what we expect, so we can just double click on that row and it'll take us straight to what is called the daily summary view. And this gives us a fair bit more information for the employee's pay cycle. We can see that there's a missing clocking there and some short normal time. Over here we can see that there are no clockings whatsoever, giving us a full day of short time, along with a case of overtime at a rate of 1.5. All these items here are color-coded to help you more easily identify what's going on, and a legend that describes what each of the colors mean can be activated by right-clicking and just selecting the Show Color Legend option from the context menu. I've navigated over to a different employee here to demonstrate another important feature of our system, which is period totals and pay totals. Period totals are purely just a total added up of all the times earned, so we can see there 850 plus 850 plus 850 plus 7. That gives us 32.5 hours of normal time. But right below that we have our pay totals with normal time sitting at 40 hours. The reason for this is that one of the features of our system is that we can modify the hours in a given pay cycle depending on rules defined by you. In this case, we can say that there is a requirement of 40 hours of normal time to be worked before overtime can actually be earned. So what's happening here is that we are getting 7.5 hours from our overtime at a rate of 1.5 worked to fill up our normal time to 40 hours, and then only after that we can actually pay out our overtime, which in this case would be 2.62 hours. Much like in the exceptions window, we can double click on one of the days in view, and that'll take us to the daily details view again, where we can correct any issues such as a missing punch out like we have here on the 25th of June. Let's double click on that and quickly correct the issue. And now that we've corrected that issue, we can see here that our pay totals have changed to reflect the normal time that has now been earned after our correction. Now that we've used all the different tools at our disposal to monitor and correct the time and attendance of our employees, we are ready for payroll. So let's go over to the export window. And from this window, we can select which payroll system we would like to export to. Jarrison Time is very robust with its integration into other systems, so it's very likely that we'll be able to integrate with your solution. We'll first ensure that we have all of our employees selected in the employee list. Then we select the date range there for last period and hit the export button. And there we go. All of our times have now been exported, ready to go through to payroll. Thank you very much for watching this demonstration video. If you want to learn more about our system and what it can offer you, please feel free to visit our website, jarrison.systems.